Welcome to Creators Cafe. I'm your host, Jessica Payne. I'm a performer, performance coach, and multi-hyphenate creator. I'm going to be bringing you conversations with some of my favorite creators where we talk about the sublime and the specifics of the creative journey. So grab a drink, get cozy. Let's go.
Before we get started, I want to give you a little behind the scenes about this conversation. My guest, Rachel Lee, is a branding expert who I wanted to share a conversation with her to my audience so that people who work with me for creative coaching or on-camera coaching or creative strategy planning could get her branding expertise. Fantastic side quest. And as we were having the conversation, she was just so inspiring and it felt so comfy and cozy that I realized it was effectively just another episode of Creators Cafe. So even though it doesn't have exactly the same format here, she is drinking orange pekoe tea with cream, and she gives us a just natural conversational creators challenge at the end. And it was so wonderful to be in a moment where something I'd wanted to do, bringing back season 2, felt so natural and inspiring and easy. And that's part of the reason I even made this is right now it's a hard time to be an artist and a creator in the world. And so when you have those moments and those people and those pieces of art that give you that energy and just make it fun and joyful, and it's incredible, honestly. So I want to thank you, Rachel, for letting this happen and being that spark that helped me to have a season 2. And just remind everyone that's listening to this that you don't know when you just being yourself in the world can have such a big impact and be the catalyst for someone else's creative journey. Also, you might notice that I'm a little sultry voiced right this moment. So when we recorded the episode, I was totally fine. I'm under the weather right now. But once we get past the bio, you will have a normal voice to listen to. Here we go. My guest, Rachel Lee, is an artist, designer, and co-founder of Neogenesis, a personal branding agency for creatives and misfit entrepreneurs who are ready to own their weird and finally rock it online. Rachel believes that there's no better way of marketing yourself than actually being yourself. Rachel's taking these important foundational concepts from branding that have made Neogenesis be a successful service providing agency to taking her brand to becoming a household brand that'll include a clothing line, comic series, merch, and more. And she's doing this whole process on Twitch to be as unedited and transparent in her journey to be a full-time working artist as possible. So we get into the details of what makes her business successful, how to brand yourself as a business owner and as an artist, and also how to embrace the transparency and messiness of the journey that we're all on. So Rachel, thank you for inspiring me, and I look forward to hearing how you inspire others.
All right. So welcome. I am having a conversation with my friend and personal branding expert, Rachel Lee, and I am Jessica Payne, and I am a creative coach and an on-camera specialist. So Rachel and I are just talking about where our specialties overlap, and we're having a coffee chat conversation about what we're excited about, what we like to help people with, and kind of where those overlap in the Venn diagram of what we do. So Rachel, what do you think of as your specialty generally when you are talking to somebody who's new, who you know you could help? How do you talk about what you do?
That's a great question. I always lead in and tell people that I hang out in the world of personal branding. And I know that people have a lot of initial impressions whenever I open my mouth and say this word. They're like, oh, so you help people get rich and famous online, right? And I'm like, no, like that is not what I do. I know that this word has become weirdly tainted. When I say that I do personal branding, it means that I just help people be more intentional in the way that they show up online. And specifically with the work that I do, I personally have a background as a designer. So what most people come to me for when it comes to support is figuring out how they visually capture and communicate about their brands online in a way that actually matches matches your vibe and makes sense to other people, because I get it. Most people are not designers, and a lot of people, like, no one was taught ever how to actually use and navigate social media. So I like to tell my clients, you are already awesome as you are. It is not your fault, and it is okay that you are not very good at communicating with that same level of awesome online. My job is to help support you with that, mostly with the visual side, but sometimes if you do have a word salad when you're trying to explain what you do or communicate about what you do, I can help you clean that up as well.
I love it. And I think one of the things that you said when I first met you that really stuck with me was you talked about, I wanted to become my favorite version of myself. And when I see, when you sign into a video call, it's like the most joyful little square that I've ever seen. And it feels like just like such an expression of the joy and light that you have inside of you. Can you talk about that for a little bit?
Absolutely. I feel like it is so important that you show up in a way that you are happy with. Like literally, I actually just got off a conversation with somebody. It was like a networking conversation where it was like the exact opposite of what you just described, where I went into the conversation, I was excited. I'm like, I'm so excited to meet you. Thank you for taking the time. Like tell me about you. And then they were just like, hi, nice to meet you. Who do you like to serve for your business? And I was like, this isn't what I signed up for. Like, you seem like you're dead inside. Are you okay? Like, I am concerned. like, are you okay? Yeah. And so it's funny. I literally just got off a call that was of the exact opposite energy, and it was a good reminder for why I do what I do, because the way that you show up in one instance is how you show up in the rest of your life. And I believe in living my life holistically, where like the version of me that you see here, like this is what I'm like with my family, with my friends, with my cat, when I'm in potato mode. Like this is just what I'm like. Like I am generally chill and happy most of the time, like unless I'm sleep deprived or grouchy or hangry. Like that's like another subsect. But I believe that it's so important that you show up in a way that you're happy with. And because the work that I do is so creative and takes so much energy, I find that it's very important for me to set up certain kind of like guide rails to support me in showing up consistently on days where I actually feel like a potato. Like some days, like when you're sick or you didn't get a good night's rest, but you still have to show up. The space that I've created, even the kitty headphones for me, it's like this weird thing that the moment I put them on my head, it's like this switch turns on where it's like whatever you're bringing in, like into the day to day, even if it's not so good, like that is okay. What we're going to do right now is we're going to show up and we're going to do our very best and have that be okay. And so like I tried to find a way to set up these parameters so that even if it's like horribly raining and so wet and gloomy outside, which it often is in Vancouver where I live, but I have my studio and have this like glowy happy energy so that it supports on days when I just don't want to show up. So I don't know if that answered your question, but totally. All of this is like, this is just what I want to experience every day, on camera, off camera, like in general, on a day-to-day basis.
Well, and one of the things that, because my background is originally from acting and directing side, is I really like imagining like the vision of what the movie like looks like in my head of me going through as like the version of myself I want to be in that moment. And what I find is a lot of times when people are struggling with personal branding or how they show up on camera, how they show up online, there's the mismatch is actually between like how they feel they should show up and how they feel like they are showing up, and then this factor of like who they actually want to show up as. And I think it's navigating that muck that is the most important thing that we help people do. So how do you talk to people about honestly, like if that person was dead inside, I know that there's somebody interesting in there, right? Nobody's actually dead inside. We all have something that we're like passionate about and excited about. I used to work with somebody that was just really rigid in his job, and he was excellent at his work, But all of a sudden, I got him talking about this sourdough starter that he inherited from his grandmother that was like 7 years old. And he like talked about it with such passion and joy. And he didn't stumble on his words and he wasn't worried about what he was saying. He was talking about this sourdough bread with such passion.
Yeah.
So how do you, I love it. And I think you radiate that naturally, and you radiate that in a very visual way that helps people to understand it. But for sourdough guy, if he tried to show up as you or as maybe somebody else who he sees online, that would feel very fake. So how do you help pull that out of people of like who do they want to be deep inside, and how do you share that thing that probably feels private and maybe a little scary in a way that feels safe publicly? Because I think that's where a lot of us get into that like kind of like
I love the sound that you just made. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, but that's literally the sound that goes through my head every time I'm about to like take a risk, like do like those risky posts, like put out this thing that I'm like, oh, what if people don't like me and everyone runs away? Like we all have these narratives in our head, and so in my head I'm like like I have that like that sound that I make literally. But it's so true. I feel like it's true that there's a lot of stuff that we want to share with the world. Like it's this deep thing that we often keep locked up inside of us, and it's this fear that we have of, if people saw this, they're gonna think that I'm so weird that they're gonna not like me and they're gonna run away. Like there's these weird things about us. Maybe it's some of the things that we're not even comfortable admitting to ourselves, that we like these things or we're like that or whatever it is. And in order for you to have that on the forefront, this is something that I had to work through myself, where I had to develop a really good relationship with those things, even just between me, myself, and I had to develop a very good relationship with those parts of myself before I felt okay sharing it to the world. So I'll share an example. I feel like a lot of people often ask me, they're like, so is pink your favorite color? Because obviously there's pink everywhere here to the point where I dyed my hair pink. And the funny story behind it is that I hated pink growing up as a kid. Growing up, I was the tomboy. You see like my hats and my skateboard in the background. Like I was the tomboy growing up. I hated hanging out with girls because I thought they were no fun. I'm like, I can't chase you around the playground and push you off the swings. You just cry. Like you're no fun to play with. Like I was that girl who only had guy friends because I didn't like the experience of hanging out with girls. And so for the longest time, I was like, I like blue. Blue and black is my color because like I am cool and like I'm not girly. Like I just had all of these like weird negative narratives that was attached to this one color or a certain way of presenting myself. And it wasn't until way, way further down in life, I actually just crossed the 30 threshold where I started to... Thank you. When I started to develop a better relationship of like, oh, there is a side of me that would be considered feminine, and that's actually not a bad side. Like I kind of like that. And I remember when I was working on my brand and I got to this point where I had to decide on a color that I would use to present myself. And my default is black. Most of the time you're going to see me in black. It's black and white. But I'm like, I need a color that isn't, black and white is not a color. Like I need a pop of something. And I remember I pulled up my design software and I was pulling, I had like the rainbow color palette selected. I was just dragging my cursor over to see like, and I was just listening to my gut. And usually when you see a color you really like, your gut like pulls you towards it. It's like, huh, like in a good way, like not like the huh in a bad way, like huh, in a positive way. This podcast recording is going to be so epic. I love it. In a good way.
I know exactly the difference you mean. Yeah.
Right? Okay. Exactly. So I was pulling my cursor over all of these colors just to see what pulled me. And when it landed on bubblegum pink, my gut did the thing. And then I stopped. And then I'm like, Rachel, are you serious? Like, really? Like, is it gonna be this color? And I checked in with my gut again, and it was like, yes, girl, like, this is gonna be the color. I was so mad. I was so angry and upset. But I knew in my heart of hearts, I'm like, this color really does capture my energy. It has the bubbly, sparkly feeling. But what I did was that I put black beside it, and I'm like, these are gonna be my colors. It's pink, but then with the side of black, so then it still carries a little bit of that edge of that undertone, so then it's not all like sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. It's like, yeah, but if you like piss me off, I'm gonna seriously fuck you up. Like that sort of like, I'm gonna have like, I have those two things overlapping. The duality of life, exactly. Those two things, so then I had the balance. But I had to develop a good relationship with that part of myself before I felt safe to show the world, like, okay, pink is my color. Like, it took a while to get to that point. So to your point, everybody has something like that, and you have to be okay with that being a part of your identity first before you package and put that out into the world. I am curious as well to hear like how you support your clients in doing that, because I obviously like I am a designer, so I play with a lot of the fonts and the pixels and the colors, but you help people show up on camera. Like, you can't hide. Like, that's just you. You can't fabricate or Photoshop that. So how do you help your clients when they do the thing on camera, but I'm sure you see they're struggling with all of the things before like the light turns on? Like, how do you help them navigate that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say kind of big picture, the first thing we talk about is, what do you want to show up as? And then I try to feel from them what's the main thing that's getting in the way. So in actor terms, it's like, what's your objective? And then what's your obstacle that's making that tougher? And a lot of times people have one or two things that really bug them. And so I actually just try to take those out of the equation. So if somebody says like, it's really my voice that I don't love, then honestly, we'll just do videos of them in action and just have text until they get more comfortable with being present with everything else. So then they can take baby steps with the voice. And, I have one client that I worked with almost 2 years ago, and she emailed me last week and said, I heard her on a podcast that I listened to, and I was like, this is amazing. You did such a good job. And she said, I use the vocal warm up that you did, and I use that every time I get on a video podcast. And like, that's so funny because that's not even the visual. That's just like her taking steps to work on a specific skill that she can do to warm up her voice and work on the things that she was self-conscious about to help her get more comfortable with those skills so she doesn't feel self-conscious with them. But then I also really like the idea that somebody I was just talking to recently said, your weird is your style. And so the things that make you feel different are probably the things that make your friends love you. And I've had people, make fun of me, we'll say lovingly, for how colorful I am and how like, all over the place I am, and like that I jump from subject to subject. And one day I'm thinking about this and excited about this. And that in a time when everybody's talking about be consistent, that feels like a liability to me. But I've found kind of like sourdough bread guy, if I'm actually excited about something, it doesn't matter if I'm the most consistent about it. It matters that when I'm doing it, I'm passionate about it and it's important. And, if it's colorful, then that's what I'm feeling today. And if it changes, like you have gone all in on the pink, and I love that. And I'm a little more like all over the place, but that actually has worked for me, and I have to trust that like, as long as it's a pure expression of me and I'm not holding back, that there's a reason that I'm leaning into that. So I try to give my clients like permission to be themselves. And it's really that I think we see self-confidence and try to model whatever that person is doing who's self-confident. Whereas like the path is actually not trying to be like anybody else. It's saying, cool, this is who I actually am. And knowing what that feeling in your gut feels like when you're like, oh, nope, this is right. And even if it's tingly and scary and feels risky, I think we know. You know when you like hanging out with somebody. You know when you like a TV show. You know when clothes feel good on you. It's just that you feel like you should be doing something else. So basically, I try to help people say fuck the shoulds and do what you actually want to do. And that is like the hardest thing to do in our society right now. But I think we at kind of a deeper level, I think we assume that the rules are there to help guide us. And a lot of times they're even just like kind of invisible rules and invisible boxes. And, you know, you didn't like pink because it made you feel constrained. But now pink makes you feel the most free. And there's something really powerful about figuring out like, what am I most ashamed of and scared about? And is it something that's like actually a problem or actually hurting me or somebody else that I can fix and improve? Or is this just something that makes me different that I can lean into and be like, okay, cool, this is me. I embrace this. And if I like it, then it's going to resonate with the people that it's meant for.
Exactly. I love that you said that, where I tell my clients as well, the biggest and most hardest part about the whole branding process is giving yourself permission to be whoever and whatever you want to be. And it's like, it's weird to say that because logically we understand that, but there's so many things that are holding us back of like, what if my friends don't like that? What if my parents don't get it? What if my family disowns me? Like there's a lot of layers. What if I lose my job, right? Like there's a lot of layers to it, and constraints. And so I think it's the single biggest act of bravery to basically, despite all of those things, show up and just commit and do the damn thing. Like it is the biggest act of bravery. And so every time, like, I don't hold it lightly whenever people work with me. Like every time they raise their hand and say, yes, I want to work with my branding, I'm like, dude, like, do you know what you have just done? Like you have just decided to give yourself permission to like actually fully putting yourself out there without holding back. Like that's something that some people never do in their lifetime. Like they never do in their lifetime. Like it's crazy. And so I think the work that we do for our clients, it goes so far beyond the end result. Like for you, it's like, oh, like they have this amazing recording that they're so damn proud of. For me, it's like, oh, like I'm so damn happy when I look at my brand, like that logo, that like captures my energy. People see that. That's the tip of the iceberg. But I think what is like totally underrated is all of the work that went into getting to that point. Like for your clients, it's probably like the confidence that they build and the trust that they feel in themselves before they even get onto camera. Like that is where the work goes in. Like for me, it's like the permission to even say out loud, here's what I want and here's what I want the world to know me for. Like these things are huge, and I think they need to be talked about more often.
Yeah, that bravery to be seen is at the core of what we both do, and it's something that I try to model, but I also try to look for in people, and is like, where are the ways that you're already doing this? Where do you feel comfortable? Where do you feel like you really are expressing yourself, and how can we do that in baby steps, right? Because you don't need to, this is not something that you need to just like jump off the high diving board suddenly. You can like practice by like putting your feet in the pool and scooching in. And so really trying to figure out like, what are the ways that, you know, this is not like change your life, flip the table, quit your job, disown your family. This is like, step into who you actually are. And I think the more that you do that, the more you're going to be surrounded by people that like you for who you actually are. And in the online space, I think there's a lot of fear of judgment, of people judge what I'm wearing or what I'm saying or how I'm coming across. And like,
Yeah.
they really might, but if they're judging you for being yourself, you have a whole different level of power knowing
Yeah.
that that's okay. You don't like my choices. That's fine, but I like them. Whereas like
Yeah.
somebody's going to judge you anyway. I'd
Yeah.
rather be judged for being myself than for feeling fake. And I think
Yes.
also there's something there's something weird. I think it comes up for me like with the like visual side of things. I'm an actor, but I'm also a curvy woman in my mid 40s
Yeah.
in Los Angeles. And so there's so much like presentation and appearance and you should look like this, and it was
Yeah.
actually me kind of leaving the corporate world and then even leaving like higher education worlds that made me realize like, oh, I'm not a like work all day in a blazer and a suit person. And I like, it was like the physicality of like taking off the blazer and just wearing what I wanted to.
Yes. So good.
But then I think I went too far and I was like, oh, if I like do my makeup and hair, then I'm trying too hard and I'm like, falling into all of these traps. But like,
Yeah.
sometimes I like to do my makeup and sometimes I like to
Yeah.
do my hair. I like to experiment and play with different things. And like, if I put foundation on my face, then the camera doesn't wash me out. And if I put lipstick on, and I'm very fair, so if I put like eyeliner on, people can actually see me and relate to me better. And so then I
Yes.
feel better. But
Yeah.
I also don't want to fall into the hole that I only feel good like that. So I actually try to like make myself
Yeah.
do the things that like I want to do on a given day without stressing about how somebody's going to perceive me. I just had a really nice time
Yes.
at a cafe the other day because I like, try to like generally, like you said, like when I show up in the space, I like to show up a certain way and like just be kind of a good version of myself and do the best of what I've got that day. And like the other day I was not feeling that. I was really feeling the heaviness of the world and everything that's happening, and it really really was like down. And so I just threw on some clothes that made me happy, that like feel like PJs. And I hadn't even like taken off my makeup from the day before, which I never do. My hair was crazy. And I just went to
Yeah.
like the cafe that I love, and I walked in and there was probably 5 people there that I just adore, and I chatted with and I hugged them and they were like, "Oh, look, it's my favorite person." And I
Oh,
just
so
like
good.
was so relieved that I had proof that it's just me. It's not the appearances. It's not the outside bullshit. And it doesn't matter what you look like as long as you're letting that like full expression of yourself come out. Your people
Yes.
will resonate with you.
Exactly. Like they want to know that you're human, and I think it's interesting. Like it's interesting. Like I spend a lot of time on social media, but more through the lens of like I like people watching in a weird way where
Yeah.
it's like I like to just
Yeah.
observe, and I
Uh,
have this weird analytical side of my brain where if I were to speak in Harry Potter houses, I'm a Ravenclaw. So I'm the person where I would like scout out the battlefield and plan out everything before I go into battle. So like I'm that type of person.
strategy.
Strategy, like I
Yeah.
that's just how my brain works. And so whenever I'm on social media, like it's I won't say I have a critical lens on it, but I like to observe and try to understand, and I see patterns. That's just the work that I do, is I look at all the things and then I group them mentally, and I start to see patterns. And I see that there's like a lot of influencers or a lot of people that are very prominent public figures online that you see, and sometimes they only show up a certain certain way. And it's like there's some people where you don't know what they look like when they don't have their makeup on. Like you would probably be scared if you were like, oh God, what would you actually look like without your makeup on? And some people, like for them, that character is so integral. They're like, I can't break that. Like I just like I only have to show up a certain way. Otherwise, probably the narrative that goes on is like people aren't going to like me or whatever. But and that's totally fine. Like that's the character that they've created and they've committed to that, and I salute and commend them for it. But I find that the characters that I personally feel more pulled towards and the ones that I personally feel more connected with are the ones where I see the full spectrum of like, oh, you look so good today. Like I love your outfit, your hair, your makeup, like like chef's kiss. Like it's so good. Yeah. And then there's days where like they show up and sometimes like for me, I post regularly in my stories on Instagram just to update people, kind of like your bum day. Like yesterday, I had like a no makeup glasses day because I went in for an eye appointment and total potato day, but I capture all of that. So it's like people actually like it better when they see the full spectrum of you, because they know they're like, oh, even on your worst days, they're like, you're not that bad. You're still pretty cute. Like I kind of like you, and so I find personally the brands or the people or the figures or characters that I get attracted to are the ones where I've seen the full spectrum of everything, and I'm like, I realize that I like all of that. Like that makes you real and relatable. Yeah. So I love that you totally owned it. Like marched into the cafe. I'm like, bum day, we're gonna own it, and still got loved and embraced by all of like the friends that you have there. Like that is so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like from the analytical standpoint, I do think there's some, if you're creating on camera and you're creating a personal brand or really a business brand and you really want to just highlight one aspect, then that can be really powerful for memory. And so it can make a really sustained impact. And I think that, so like somebody like Miss Rachel, who does children's entertainment and does educational things for kids, she like always wears the pink shirt and the pink headband and the overalls. And she is very iconic in that outfit, but she's also trying to like provide children with a baseline of this is the person that you're going to get all the time. And so I think there's like healthy ways that we can do that. But on the flip side, I think a lot of us feel like we have to find one thing and then stay with it. And that's where it's really not effective. It's, we have to like kind of build that bridge between being memorable for something because we build enough momentum in one arena or one area that people think of us for that thing. You don't know this, but my husband has like walked by my computer while I was talking to you and he was like, oh, Rachel, right, she's Cat Ears, pink hair lady. And like, he knows who you are. You've never met him, but he knows, he's like, cool. Oh yeah, personal branding. Cool. Have a great conversation. And so like the iconic visual you bring is very helpful because he knew you instantly. But I think sometimes we equate showing up in a bold, memorable way with the rigidity of I have to stay here. And I think that's figuring out how to have a persona or a character or bringing an aspect of yourself in a way that you can consistently show up, bringing that part of yourself to the public is different than getting stuck in character. It's like if you think of your favorite actors, like they can play different characters, but you still love the actor because there's something that they're bringing that nobody else is bringing when they're themselves and when they're those characters. But if somebody just is stuck in one type, we get tired of them because we're missing that range of humanity coming out. And so they kind of peak and then disappear. And I think we can trust that for ourselves, that if we keep showing up as whatever's going on in our lives, whatever's relevant to us in the world, and let ourselves be that bold filter, I think we can trust people to resonate with that authenticity, honestly.
Exactly. And I know that when it comes to like creating this like character that people see, like in the way that you show up, your personality, the visuals, like all of that, that's what I kind of consider to be the character. When you create that, I think one thing that people often struggle with is just this idea that it's static. It has to be perfect. Like it has to be this one way. Especially whenever I even say the word brand, like people equate the word brand with perfection. It bothers the hell out of me because it's, yes, like in a commercial sense, that's what people think about. Like a brand done right from a business perspective, it's like flawless. But from a personal branding perspective, I'm like, we have to look at like let's take the word brand out of it. Personal, person, people are messy. Like there, you can't like otherwise it would be like AI branding, right? If you want to be perfect, like robotic branding. But no, personal branding. And people are messy. Like you can't get around that. Like people are growing and changing every day. And I think the biggest like segue into the world of personal branding that I made for myself was it was actually me letting go of the need for everything to be perfect and just to fully accept like here's where I'm at right now, and I understand and acknowledge that this might be different in a month. I could change my mind about who I want to be tomorrow. Like I'm like you could change your mind about who you could be and what you want to do at any given moment, and we are evolving every day as people. And what we create for our brand is meant to be flexible. It's kind of like a container, but it's not a container that's like confining. It's just meant to loosely hold all of the pieces together, and hold it in a way where people understand it, but not in a way that confines you. So, like one of the things that I'm on like the brink of doing is I might end up making some adjustments with my hair. Like I'm looking to switch over into living nomadically, and when you travel, I'm not going to have access to my hairdresser, and maintaining this pink is going to be really, really difficult. And so I'm thinking about and doing research into different hairstyles that I can maybe transition into that might be better and easier to maintain that go along with that lifestyle that I'm going to move into. But I'm still figuring out how can I do it while still preserving some of the flair. Maybe what I'll end up doing is I might go all black and I might just have like a strip of pink, and I might chop it shorter so when I go to warmer climates, I'm not gonna be like sweat like a hot sweaty mess all the time. But like I'm those are like that's just an example, and it's something that I haven't committed to doing yet, but I'm thinking about it, and it's very normal even as like you're growing like for your brand. It's totally normal to start thinking about or entertaining the idea of like, oh, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. People don't know this yet, but what if I tried this? And then trying to figure out like a way that you can move into the new thing that you want to do, but doing it in a way where you're still bringing people along with you and letting them know it's okay. I am still me. I'm still that same person, but I'm trying something new right now. I think that's like the coolest thing that you could do for your audience, is bringing them along on the journey, but also letting go of the need to stay the same, because goddamn, if you're the same as you were like 20 years ago, like something's wrong. Like you shouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me think of two separate things. The first is just that, like, how do you find things that are timeless for you, but still feel like they have room for flexibility? And I heard once, like, somebody was giving advice for if you're going to get a tattoo that 7-year-old you would have thought is cool and 70-year-old you will think is cool. And if you can do that, then you're gonna be fine. And like when I create content, I try really hard. Anytime I'm making something, I try really hard to think about it as kind of an art project. And I want to ask you about being an artist, because I know you've talked about that in your videos. I think about it as like, cool, this is the piece that I'm working on right now. And so I'm going to put my all into it. But that doesn't mean this defines me who as an artist or as a creator or whatever it is that I'm doing. This is just like what I'm excited about and focused on right now. And anything I do is going to inform and help deepen whatever I do in the future. And, you know, am an actor and a writer and a director, and that makes me a better on-camera coach. But now I've had a lot of on-camera clients who are actually like, I want to go deeper, and I'm excited about like creative strategy, and I want to work on, taking the YouTube channel that exists. I'm comfortable on camera, but I want to take it from like a regional thing to something that's more national in scale. Or, I have a book project. Can you help me break down what my goals are, what my obstacles are, and kind of do the creative accountability of that? And so I've really enjoyed moving into those arenas as well. And the things that I'm talking about on camera all relate to those things as well, because we're talking about like, what's your plan? What's your calendaring? What are your obstacles? What are some skills that we can build quickly to help you take those next steps? And I think all of that applies. Yeah. So you recently did a video where you talked about getting more into your artistic side. Can you talk about that briefly?
Yes, it's so funny. I was literally thinking about this morning because I feel like I've gotten to this weird point in my journey. It's like one of those full circle moments where growing up, I was the art kid and I was like, I want to make things for a living. And so I studied in art school. I worked full time as a graphic designer for a local marketing company. Thought it was my dream job, hated it, decided to start up my own business. And so it's kind of like the progression of every creative. It's like, oh, I'm going to work at a job. Oh, I realized I don't like this experience. I'm going to go do my own thing. Okay, put on like my big girl pants. I run a business now. I'm like, I went through my boss babe phase. And then now I've gotten to this point of my business where I'm like, I feel like at least personally for me, I know everyone's goals are different. I came to this point of realization for me where I realized that my business is actually just a stepping stone for me. For some people, the business, getting it up and running, leaving a legacy for their family, that's their final destination. Like that's where they want to go. I realized for me, it's actually a weird, like in between where I did the business because I wanted to, in a sense, weird sense, prove to myself as an artist and somebody who makes things that I can stand behind my work and that it is of value to the point where someone would be happy to exchange money for it. Like I felt like I had something I needed to prove to myself. I think it's weird to say it out loud, but I feel like we all have these things that we want to ourselves prove. Like I can do it. Like I am, the work that I do is of value. Like that was the thing I wanted to prove to myself. I'm like, is the stuff that I make any good, right? Like that's basically the main question that I had. And it's weird to say that I've gotten to this point in my career where I could say that I'm actually happy with what I feel what I'm capable of. I've gotten my skill set and my ability and my belief in myself up to a certain point. And then now I'm kind of eyeing the next thing. So really enough, the next thing, and this is the full circle thing, is like, I want to go back and do the artist thing. I want to make art for a living, make content for a living. I literally am in the process of starting up my Twitch channel. And so I'm going to get into streaming. And it's scary to even say this because I haven't done the thing yet. So I don't know what it's going to look like. But I intend to eventually, right now I'm making things for other people. I'm eventually going to move into, I want to make things out of a place of just personal expression and using the work that I make to inspire and empower people to be their boldest, messiest selves and just to make a statement with that art and the way that I live my life. But with the business skills and know-how that I have gathered from this point, I'm going to cross-apply it. And that's the thing that most artists don't realize. I think any creative, anyone who identifies as an artist, we come into the world and we've got this beautiful thing we want to share. And then we struggle with our self-worth and we don't know how people are going to pay us money for it. And then we flounder around for a little bit. So I dabbled in the world of business in part to understand, oh, so this is how it works. Like just I understand how the world works now. And then now I'm going to take that and bring it back into the world of artistry and be like, the most dangerous thing is an artist that knows how to make anything and knows how to sell. There's nothing more dangerous than that. Those are the artists that make the most money, the most creatives. They haven't gotten to that point yet. They're just like, oh, I'm just going to like, if you don't have business sense, you could be the best at what you do and make $0. And it's the saddest thing ever. Maybe at some point I might like figure out a way to support creatives and teach them business sense, so then like they could actually make a living doing what they love. I'm not sure, but you've caught me kind of like right before I jump off into the deep end, and God knows what that adventure will be. But thank you for asking that question, because that's like the next thing that I'm kind of eyeing right now.
Yeah, well, and I think that all the really exciting, inspiring people that I look to for like examples of how I want to move in the world are exactly like what you're talking about. Like they find something they want to do, they figure out how to do it well, and then they might even continue doing it, you know, to support themselves, to support other people. And they're also simultaneously figuring out like, what's the next exciting thing? How can I keep growing? Because if we're not growing, then what are we even doing? Do you have any quick tips or mindset tricks that have helped you or might help other creatives in how to see themselves and act as someone who makes money as a creative?
Yes. So I think one of the biggest things that I think creatives need to understand is how the world of business works in general. Like, understand who is going to give you their money and why are they giving you their money. When you understand that, and every business is different, right? So for me, people are willing to pay for branding, specifically the skill that I have, because they are not designers. Whatever they try to create, they do their absolute best. They just can't. Like it looks like it was designed by a 5-year-old, and it's deeply embarrassing for them to present themselves as a business owner, but to look like a 5-year-old designed their stuff. Like, that's deeply embarrassing. And where I help bridge the gap and where they're happy to exchange money for it is I provide something that they can't achieve by themselves. And so they're willing to exchange in order to get that end result. When it comes to artists, I find that oftentimes people exchange money for things that they personally have like an emotional connection with. That's why a lot of artists, like one of my best friends, we went to art school together, and she's starting up like her own small business, but selling her actual art. It's really hard to break into the market if you've got like an original character or like your original artwork that people haven't developed an emotional relationship with it yet. So a very easy way to break into the market is to kind of like, it's like doing collabs or parodies off of things that people already currently love, but with your own style. So I've seen like a lot of artists, for example, they have their own signature style and they're trying to break into the market, and they do a lot of like illustrations and stickers and keychains of currently existing characters that people love. Like Pokemon is a very easy one. Everybody knows Pikachu, right? Like it's in my backdrop. And then so they would draw Pikachu in their signature style and do like maybe a set, and people would discover them that way because they love those same things. And then they're like, oh, who is this artist? And then when they discover them, and then that kind of like opens up the gateway into like all of their other stuff. So that's just like one example, and that's if like you're like a visual artist and you're trying to sell your work. But I think the biggest thing is if you understand why people are giving you money, that is the single most important thing to understand as like a creative, and also not to take things personally. I think that's also the second thing. That's more for emotional protection, where I know how it feels to put something out there that you poured your heart and soul into, and to have people pass you up and just to look at it and be like, oh, like, okay, like that hurts. Like, you take it as a personal hit. You're like, oh God, like I have no worth as a human being. Like, all of these nasty things start going through your head when that happens. Another thing, just as you do put yourself out there and figure out what it looks like to make a living as a creative, is to understand and not to take it personally, because you are not going to be for everyone. It just means you have to find your right people. And just because someone doesn't like your work, it doesn't mean anything about you as a human being. Like, that's something you have to sever that connection really quickly, or you're gonna like be depressed as an artist for the rest of your life. So I say those are like my 2 tips. I'm curious to hear like the same thing, but on the flip side though, like when people put themselves out there, like just in general, but I know doing things in front of the camera it's really vulnerable. Like, it's
Yeah.
so scary. Like, some people they just can't. And so, like,
Yeah.
what are like a few tips that you would recommend for people who, like, they have this deep desire? They're like, I really want to, but I'm so scared. Like how do you help them work through that initial little bit so then they can start even in like tiny little baby steps?
Absolutely. I usually find that when we're scared, and just like to know this, like actors get scared, professionals, hosts get scared. We all have situations that are uncomfortable for us, or the stakes are really high, or this aspect is different. And the thing that helps most of us get past that is just putting the reps in, honestly, and building confidence over time that like I trust that I can do this. And so exactly what you said, like tiny baby steps. You know, a lot of times I'll have somebody who's maybe nervous to talk on camera or talk into the camera. They feel more comfortable talking to a friend or talking in a podcast format. And so, you know, ideally you can just imagine that you're talking to someone and you can put that someone in the camera lens or just behind it and be like, okay, cool. So my best friend Karen, I'm just talking to you about this thing that I care about. And when I think about her, she makes me smile, so my eyes are going to light up, and I'm going to feel really good and natural, and I'm just going to chill out. Basically, it's that idea that like when we think this thing that we're looking at that is perceiving us is dangerous. It's the lion in the wilderness that can that can eat us, right? Because we put all our fears of being like excluded from the tribe for doing the thing that people disapprove of. We put all of that on the camera. And so it's really natural to have adrenaline. And basically, the first big thing you can do is understand that adrenaline means it's important to you, and you know it is high stakes, but you can also benefit from that of like it is also exciting. And if I label those same neurochemicals as exciting, they hit me a lot differently than if I think scary danger pointed down the barrel. And then if you think of like the X of the focus of your attention, you can throw the focus of your attention. So I can like, sometimes it goes with my eyes. So I can like look at you on the screen, or I can look at the camera, or I can be thinking about something and remembering something. And a lot of times if we start just playing with that focus, so I'll literally just have people like, great, now look at your TV, now look at your door, now look at your camera, now look at your keyboard, now look at your screen, now look at your camera. And like just putting it in a list of 10 things makes it so much less scary because it's just a normalized object that lives in your house. And having a camera on your computer or somewhere that you can see it more regularly and having FaceTime conversations with people you care about is going to help you just kind of normalize it. And that's why somebody who's, 15 is going to feel much more comfortable talking on camera than somebody who's 65 on average, just because it's been so normalized in their life. So we're basically looking to find ways to make it feel comfortable. And then the real trick is to take that same focus, that X. So I think of like a red X. And I think if I'm scared, then the red X is on me. And it's me worried about me and how someone's going to perceive me. If I put that red X on you and I think about you and what's interesting about you and how we're connected and maybe how we're different and how I could learn from you, or how I've got maybe some perspective or experience that could help you out. As soon as I put my attention and intention on connecting with and helping you, I start forgetting about myself because I care about the connection with you way more. And I'm trusting that we have that connection as opposed to assuming. How shitty is it that we assume the worst about people, right?
Yeah,
It's true. Every time we're scared about being on camera, that means we're assuming that everybody out there thinks the worst of us, when actually they're out there looking for somebody that's going to make them laugh, that's going to teach them something, that's going to make them feel better. And like for some people, that's gonna be you. And the only thing that's blocking you from talking to those people is your own stuff in your head. so just figure out who you want to talk to and what you want to share with them. And as long as you keep the priority on that, you're going to feel so much more comfortable. And just realize that like everybody, when I get adrenaline, like my voice shakes and my hands shake and I get like red and splotchy. And that just means I think it's important. It doesn't mean, it's like if you're like nervous on a date, like you you get a little flustered. It means you think it's important, which is actually flattering, not like, oh my God, I'm such a nervous, awkward person. It's fine. And like, I don't want my feed to be full of people who are perfect and polished and poised and dead-eyed. I want real, messy, bold, fun, interesting people who are like living on the edge of, what are we doing? What are we exploring? What can we do? That's way more interesting than perfection. So I try to trust that, keep the attention on the other person, think the best of the other person, and use that moment in time to elevate all of us.
Wow. Oh, that is so good. I love that though. And it's true because all of those negative narratives, it's actually in your head. I find that people actually often, almost all of the time, a lot more kind than you expect for them to be. Like more kind, more generous, more understanding. It's us. We are our own worst critic. So I love how you help your clients like redirect that focus, because it's kind of like, just treat it as if you're talking to a friend. You're not thinking about like, you're not weirdly socially anxious when you talk to your friend. You're chill. You're your best self, and that's what people want to see. So I like how, like, I because I'm a visual person, I like how you like use that visualization of, we're just gonna like physically move that X over to somewhere else, so then that way like you actually redivert it. I might start trying that, actually. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I can tell as soon as I start stumbling on what I'm trying to say and getting like really tense, I can just tell that my focus, that X, has gone inward, and anything I can do to get it outward and just connected to the other person. It's like you've got the tennis ball and you're keeping it here. Like the game doesn't go until you put it on the other side of the net.
Ah, that's very true. I really like that. Wow. Okay. Well, playing tennis with you then. I'm going to have to like hold that in my head. I'm like, it's back and forth, back and forth. That's how the conversation goes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why a lot of people are more comfortable when they're in conversation than when they are just talking directly to the camera. But realize you're like having a conversation. You're just having a conversation where you're like sitting across the table from one friend who is letting you talk about what's important to you for a minute. It's still a conversation. You just have the ball and you're tossing it to them with what you're saying. And so knowing who you're talking to and why you're telling them these things makes it so much more comfortable.
Absolutely. It's like that game that people play in elementary school where it's like, oh, like pass the ball. And then like whoever has the ball is the one who talks, and then you pass it on to the next one. Like I remember doing that in elementary school. It totally reminds me of that.
Yeah. And it only works if when you have the ball, you also talk. You get to talk when it's your turn, and then you have to pass it. And that's okay.
Exactly.
The one thing we didn't totally talk about that I wanted to ask you while I have you is the like idea of what the visuals in your frame communicate about your personal brand. Because I like to talk to people about like, I have this blue wall behind me because it's my favorite color, and I've got like a plant and a fan and a yoga mat and things, not because like I want you to think this thing, but because these are actually expressions of like who I am and what I'm doing and what makes me feel good. And like in some situations, people have in the past been like, why are your nails painted this weird color? Why are you wearing so much color?
Really? That's so strange.
And I think that that's part of the reason a lot of us hold ourselves back is because we've had that negative perception put on us. And I think that it's helpful to see examples of somebody who's really living in a space that feels like themselves. And we know whether we're a fit or not, we have like faith that this is a person who's being true to themselves. And that is really comforting for all of us because we know they're not like being hypocritical. They're not posing. They're not being fake. And I think we respond positively to that. if somebody doesn't really know how to express themselves, like I think about color and texture and like memories that you might have associated with things and just like how it makes you feel. What are
Yeah.
the ways you think about that with with branding and then with the visuals that make up a brand?
Absolutely. I love what you said though about how like it's so important that you like bring things into your space that are aligned. Like I like to view the setup that I have. People are like, wow, like this must have taken like so much time and effort. And for me, it was actually very simple. I was like, oh, these are just all of the things that make me happy. And I just collect them. And as I see things that make me happy, I'm like, oh, I want to see this all the time and every day. So I'm going to have it like in my office. Like that is literally it. It's very, very simple. And over time, I've just collected a whole bunch of stuff. Like you see like my Pokemon in the corner and you see all of like the small weird nerdy things. You see like my Switch, you see my Minecraft book, you see my Harry Potter books, you see all my things in the background. It's just the things that like bring me joy. And I think it's funny how much we tend to overthink these things. And it goes down to giving ourselves permission, where a very easy exercise that I actually like to walk my clients through, like before we actually start our work together, is this really cool exercise. Like you don't have to be a designer to do it. And it's basically just an exercise to help you figure out what your own style is. And everyone can do it. It's called mood boarding. I'm pretty sure like people have heard of this term before. It's kind of like a vision board, but a mood board is basically just like a collection of images of things that you like. And the more images that you put in, the more you're going to start to see patterns. So it's literally this very simple exercise where I give my clients a few categories of different types of images to search. And I send them on basically like this image scavenger hunt on the internet, where I get them to pick at least 5 images. And when I say images, it could be like a photograph, it could be a piece of art, it could be a graphic, like any sort of image. 5 logos. So logos where when you look at it, you're like, oh, I would love my logo to look like that. Or like, I just love the way that that looks. Like whatever it is, it doesn't have to be logical. 5 logos that you love, 5 samples of colors that you love. These could be color palettes. It could just be a snapshot of like this one shade of whatever. Like it just makes me happy. Like just 5 collections of that. And then fonts. I feel like sometimes like people don't think a lot about fonts. You don't need to understand typography to understand like, oh, when I see this font, it makes me happy. And then just to take a few snapshots of those and then collect them. And then usually most of my clients, they're not designers, so they just have like Canva, like a free Canva account. And then I just tell them like, whatever you do, like gather all of those things, the more the better. I say at least 5, just so then you've got a variety to work with. But it's kind of like the more data points you collect, the better, the more information you actually have to work with. So some people they will upload like 50 photos into like the folders when I walk through this exercise with them, and I just tell them dump all of those images into like just like a slide and then arrange them. And then as you just like lay them all out, it's kind of like putting all the photographs on the table and then spreading everything out so you see all of the pieces. You start to see patterns. And every single time they do this exercise where they submit all of their stuff and then they get me to review it and I create the mood board for them. And every time they're like, okay, Rachel, I did my best. I don't know if whatever I uploaded makes sense, but like, here are the things that I like. And every single time there is a very clear and distinct style that my job is to go in and I start like I tweak and tailor it. So I start to see the patterns and then I remove the options that don't really align, where I'm like, oh, there's a very clear vibe that we're going for right here. So there's usually some odd images that don't fit. So I just like push them out, but most of it is pretty solid. And then when you look at everything all in one box, you're like, oh my God, that's my vibe. Like, I know what it is. So it's a very simple exercise. Like, if you've never done it before, I totally encourage you, like, have fun with it. It's basically permission to go onto Pinterest and Instagram and go ham. Like, just like download all the stuff that you like. And don't overthink it. I always tell my clients this is a really great way to learn. It's a very good gut exercise. I'm like, the more you overthink this, the harder this exercise is going to be. The more that you listen to your gut, the more fun you're going to have. And then so, it's just this cool exercise. I encourage you like to try it in your free time. Just pull it up on the side on your other screen.
So good. And I think we probably can identify other people's patterns and what they like better than we can for ourselves sometimes, because we have a little bit more noise and less awareness of it at times. I have people do that as well for video of like, who are the creators that you love, and what are like, find a lot of different creators. What are the things that they tend to do? And a lot of times it's not what they're talking about. It's like what their relationship with you is, or their energy level, or their volume level, or, you know, their energy is, excuse me, it's more like soft and flowing as opposed to exclamation points, or it's a mix of those things, but all of the content is kind of like uplifting, but it's also really sarcastic, and you'll start to see patterns really quickly. And that just tells you what your taste is. And you don't have to do exactly that, but a lot of the things that you're going to like are in that ballpark. And so as soon as you can define those similarities of style and visuals and relationship, then you have a much cleaner picture of the kind of content you're drawn to. And if you make things like that, you're probably going to like it more.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just cool how like these seemingly tiny little exercises, it brings so much clarity. And I think the biggest barrier to people showing up is when they don't fully understand themselves. So it's a totally underrated part of the process, but is seriously the most important. Is the better you understand yourself and what you like and what works for you and what feels normal and natural and good and just the things that make you happy, the easier it is to actually start putting that out there. Because how are you going to put stuff out there before you've understood it yourself? That is a recipe for you making yourself anxious and actually putting out, like, if you haven't figured it out, it's going to come out as a mess. If you have figured it out, then it makes the communication part and the showing up part so much easier. So I always tell people, like, this is the step that you absolutely must not skip, because everything hinges on this one thing. So do it right and you'll thank yourself later.
Yeah, that's so great. Okay, so how should people contact you and follow you if they want to work with you, if they want to see more of your style and just watch your journey as you bring in more art and maybe new hair and maybe the vagabond lifestyle?
Yeah, so I still say Instagram is my main home. I like to hang out mostly on Instagram. My handle is Rachel T.Y. Lee. We'll see in the future if I end up changing it to my artist name. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'd say for most of the business stuff, I hang out on LinkedIn. Often not. It's still by choice, but not by preference. I hang out on LinkedIn because that's where most of the business conversations happen, just underneath my name, Rachel Lee. But I also plan on being on Twitch in the near future. So I'm literally just getting up my channel set up. It's going to be underneath my artist name, Kyrie. It's spelled Cayyrii. It's a mouthful. We'll figure out how we're going to send the links out to people after. But it's under construction right now. So but I'd say mostly Instagram, but maybe sometime I might start streaming and you guys could just follow along on my weird, crazy adventures on Twitch.
I love it. As an actor, I spent 4 years like living on the road. So I love that life, and I'm so excited for you.
Wow. Oh, thank you so much. But for you, how can people find you, get in touch with you, get help when they're ready to start like putting themselves out there? What would that look like?
Yeah. So my company is Kika Labs, and I do everything under that. And so it's KIKALABS. And so that's my website, kikalabs.com, and my Instagram. And I have lots of free resources on Instagram of if you're starting to create on camera. I have a whole bunch of mini single minute long episodes of like, here's some things to think about that to help get you started. And also some podcast episodes where I talk to creatives from LA. So lots of fun stuff there. Yeah.
Wow. Yay, awesome.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. I always love talking with you, and I'm sure everyone who listens to this will adore you as much as I do. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yay. Join the community and share your creative challenges on Instagram and Facebook at Creators Cafe by Kika Labs. And also check out my website, kikalabs.com, KIKALABS.com, to sign up for the mailing list so you always know when a new podcast is released, and to check out my coaching and digital courses to help you be a more confident and joyful creator.